everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. I'm looking forward to talking with my cousin, Janet Dwoskin. Janet, it's great to connect with you. You are the CEO of License Right International, and you bring companies together looking for licenses. And we're going to get into that, Think Community, on what that means to you and what that means for your company and revenue and all of those other great things. But like every episode, we're going to start talking about Janet. I'm a business coach and I work with people all over the globe who are successful but stuck, and I do my best to get them unstuck. And so I like to start as I'm talking to CEOs like yourself and kind of talk about where in business is you're stuck and what do you do to get unstuck?
Well, my stuck in currently is that the business is shifting quite a bit, and I am trying to find, where my company fits in at this point. I have a lot of great clients, but I see that there's sort of a shift in terms of where the licensors are, the people who I'm representing, and as well as where the retailers are going. So that's sort of my stuck right now. And I think a lot of what I've just been doing is trying to connect with many people as I possibly can and see how we can work together. I think a big part of it has become collaborations.
Yeah, I love that. Think Community, we talk a lot about collaborations and building your network, Janet. We talk a lot about building your network on this show. And it's really, really important to build your network because I think a lot of companies and a lot of people are feeling shifts and will continue to feel those shifts as not only the markets change, the world changes, the way people purchase change. We're in kind of this almost ever-changing adjustment period where the shelf life seems to be shorter than it was, when we grew up 20, 30, 40 years ago. So, Think Community, always be building your network and always be thinking about how you can expand and collaborate. Thanks for sharing that, Janet. That was great. All right, let's talk about you, Janet. You've been in the licensing business for over 30 years. You bring strategy, you bring big picture, you bring ideas to clients and working outside the box. And to me, that's something that AI can never replace. And so let's talk about, right. Well, for the person who doesn't understand what licensing is, describe kind of what you do, because I want someone to be able to say, oh, I have that and I can actually do that, but maybe I've never thought about how I can do that.
So licensing is when you have intellectual property, whether it's a music brand like Kiss or AC/DC or the Beatles or something like that, or children's brands, Dr. Seuss, or movies, pretty much anything that's sort of like in the creative space that has intellectual property can be licensed out. And so what I do is I work with both the licensor, the people who own the property rights, and also the licensee who are looking to acquire the license for the property rights, and to help both sides either find manufacturers so that they can put their license on a product like a T-shirt or a Funko doll or a bag or something like that. And then I also work with the manufacturers to get them licenses because they have a product that perhaps is doing fine, but they want to elevate it, probably use it as a marketing tool to kind of increase the volume of sales into retail. And then they want to get a particular license so that they can sell it.
I love it. So now let's talk about where you enter, because one of the things I love about what you do, especially as I read your bio, bringing strategy, big picture ideas outside the box, right? To be that person, you have to really be listening. You have to understand somebody's inside world. You have to be able to kind of dive in and kind of hear what people aren't hearing and seeing what people are seeing to extract an idea for the client. And so talk a little bit about the process of that space that you create with clients so you can kind of do your magic and extract those ideas.
Well, I speak with them. I ask them a number of questions. Essentially, where do you want your business to go? Where where are you sort of feeling frustrated with things? What is it that you're looking for? I think a lot of what I try to find for our client is, I know that you're competing against, for example, an apparel company. I know you're competing against a couple of different apparel companies to try to get to a particular license, which you feel is going to enhance your brand. It's going to, elevate things, get you in the right retailers. But how can you get that? Because there's already a few people who have it. How do you differentiate yourself, for example?
Yeah.
So you happen to offer an organic product. Well, those folks that you're competing against don't have an organic product. Let's get you a license based on that solely. And then, in hopes of that's going to set you apart from everyone else trying to reach out to retailers with similar ideas.
Yeah. And how do you, I just want to kind of stay on this because I love talking about ideas, because I think sometimes the best ideas come from the previous ideas. And the whole idea of idea generation comes from asking really good questions and really being an active and reflective listener. And I think that's something that people sometimes have a hard time with. So that's why I love talking to people who are idea generators. And so talk a little bit more about the listening skills it takes to really extract custom ideas that are unique to the person you're talking to.
So I think for me, and particularly when I'm talking with my clients, is I just try to get into a conversation with them about a variety of different subjects. And I just keep, as it's sort of like a stream of consciousness conversation. It's not necessarily like, okay, I have this agenda with this conversation. I generally want to make sure I understand like where they're at and what they're hoping for, and what their goals are. But at the same time, if they'll say something to me and I'll think about it and I'll be like, well, have you ever thought about, doing something this way? And then they're like, you know what? I one day a couple of years ago, I was thinking, X, Y, and Z. And then I'll be like, well,
Right.
I know this person who's, was talking to me the other day about this other thing. And so it's just sort of like, I try to think about the conversations I've had with all the other people in my network or my clients. And then, was there a collaboration we can do for that? Or did you ever think about like, working with this brand? Or did you, it's just a
Yeah.
lot of, it's really very fluid. It's not that organized, but
Yeah.
it's, I would say very creative. It's loose.
Well, that's what makes it right. It shouldn't be. It can't be organized. If it's organized, it can't be creative. It's not. It's an organic process. I find the same in my business, Janet. It's kind of one question leads to the next question, and it's a space that you create. And I agree with you. I hear so many times, I had that idea 7 years ago, or I thought about that 14 times, but I've never really executed on it. It's to be the person that can extract it, make sense of it, create a plan, and define it, and then monetize it for a client. That's a great gift, and I know that's what you do for your clients. That's amazing. All right, let's rewind for a minute. So you've been in the licensing business for 30 years. When I talk to entrepreneurs and CEOs of their own companies, I always like to talk about kind of their journey, because success is never a straight line. There's always kind of twists and turns. So give us kind of the 90-second, how did you get here? And the second question, was there a mentor along the way? And you can go back as far as possible, as far back as you want, along the way, that kind of planted a seed in you that kind of consciously or unconsciously got you to today.
Yeah. So I've been in the licensing business for 30 years of a variety of different companies. However, I think the big bulk of influence for me was when I worked with Live Nation. And it wasn't actually Live Nation at first. It was a family business owned by a gentleman named Del Ferrano, who's unfortunately not with us anymore. But he was the guy who pretty much came up with the merchandise business for music. So back in the day, he started the merch stand for the Grateful Dead for Winterland. So I ended up getting a job there through a friend of mine, and I met him and thought he was super interesting. And he would just tell me things that I should do or shouldn't do. And he'd always say, I'm just trying to make you better. And so I feel like I've learned everything about not just the music business, but about licensing and business and making deals from him. And I'd make a mistake and he would tell me what my mistake was. And then he would always say, but I'm just trying to make you better. So I never
Yeah.
took it personally. And I really appreciated all his insight. He's definitely known to be a mentor to people who I felt like he saw potential in me and was really like, he was a fan of mine in a way. Like I don't know how else to put it, but so he definitely influenced me, and that's sort of how I got into the licensing business, and then to starting my own company. What happened was this family business, he sold it to Live Nation, and then I ended up becoming a vice president, and I was running a division. And one day I was just sitting in my office and I was reading this article about Live Nation with its 40,000 employees, and I was like, how did I get here? And I realized that I just really didn't enjoy working in this humongous corporation, and it really had lost the essence of what I enjoyed about my work. And then I had sort of at that point just decided I need to start making a move to leave and start my own company, which was frankly quite scary, but I don't regret it for one bit. It's been great for me.
It's great. What was the ultimate piece of courage that gave you that kind of moves you to kind of start your own? Because I think sometimes people are thinking what you're thinking, but the courage piece gets in the way. And so what was kind of that moment of courage that you said, okay, I'm jumping?
Well, I read this book, actually. It was James Altucher, I think that's how you say his name, called now I'm forgetting the name of it. It's like the guide to your own guide to wealth, or now I'm forgetting the name. I apologize. But it's basically like you should just be doing this for yourself. And in the book, it said that you will never, do all the things that you want in life if you're just working for a company. You're literally just going to be towing this company line, and it's going to be the same thing over and over again, and just really not going to grow. Choose yourself guide to wealth. That's what it is. Okay. And so that was sort of like, I read it and it made a lot of sense to me. And that was in the back of my mind and my decision. I was like, okay, I really have to figure out how to do this. And then, and I also thought, well, should I just change companies? Am I burned out from this company? Am I just tired of it? Do I want something different? And then, so I started putting some feelers out there, and people would be like, oh yeah, come work for us, be our COO or whatever it is. And I was like, I started getting anxiety. I was like, I don't want to do that. So I realized that I really needed to go out on my own. And then I figured, if I can do this for a giant corporation, if I just put the same effort that I was putting into the work that I was doing in the giant corporation into the work that I'm doing for myself, how could I go wrong?
Amen. I love it. Well, congratulations. And I'm happy you made the jump. And Think Community, I talk a lot about books on the show, Janet. It's amazing. The power of a book can be so powerful. I've always been a huge reader, and I shouldn't say always, since I was 18. I didn't read before then, really. But I love that story. I love that story. All right. Quick speed round. You ready?
Yes.
You just mentioned one of your books, which was great. Is there another book or TED Talk or article that had a big impact on you?
Yes, The Four Agreements. I recently read it, and it's just kind of like opened my mind, and it's really amazing book. I mean, it helps me sort of relax into like what's happening right now in business, and realize that it's okay for change, and as long as you're really doing your best and not beating yourself up for failing, and just all these really great things in the book. It was quite inspirational. So I'm still excited about it, and go back to it and keep reading little parts of it.
Yeah, I love that book. I've read it about 6 times, and every time I read it, it's at a different phase of my life, and it's as if I never even read it before. It's kind of it's an odd experience, but but I love that book. I love that book. You mentioned earlier about your mentor, but another piece of wisdom that had a big impact on you.
Well, there was when I was very young, someone had suggested to me that it might be better if I'm more authentic about who I am, because I tend to be kind of a quirky person. And I realized that over the years, when I try to be what I'm not and try to act like what I'm not and try to be more like when I was corporate and trying to dress the part, it didn't really serve me as well as if I'm just me. And it
Yeah.
always serves me better to just be me.
Yeah.
So that was a great bit of advice. And then the other bit of advice, which I always try to pass on to other people, is there's no crying in t-shirts.
Yeah. I like that. That's a good one. That's a good one. I
Right.
love that. Yeah. T-shirts are the greatest. All right. Let's last question. Last question, Janet. Your mentor, you said, is always saying, "Hey, I'm just trying to make you better." What is one thing that everybody can do to try to make themselves better?
One thing. Well, I think for me, the one thing I'm always trying to make myself better is to forgive myself for like I tend to like, think back and I'm just trying to analyze and how could I have done that better, but it, to just not worry about like whether you failed or not,
Yeah.
just worry about like, I don't know, it's hard to say, but it's like just don't beat yourself up. I
Right.
think that's
Yeah. The way I put that is there's no such thing as a failure, just only lessons. And maybe you look at it as an expensive seminar that you went to, right? Where
yeah,
you were forced to learn the lesson. Um,
correct.
that's great. Janet, this was great. I love this podcast because I'm a business coach and I work with successful people who are stuck and get them unstuck. And this podcast is helps with my mission of helping people get unstuck, because I get guests like you who help people get unstuck. And everything I loved everything you shared today. I thought it was incredible. I want to extract one thing that I thought was pretty powerful, Think Community, which is we should always be surrounding ourselves with people like Janet's mentor who see potential in us and can get us to that level of potential. It's really, really, it's so critical. I think sometimes, people surround themselves with the wrong people, or people who bring them down, or people who want to keep them down. And that's just, I want to kind of open everybody's consciousness to say, do your best to surround yourself with people who help you grow, who help you evolve, who see your potential and are selfless to get you there. And I just think it's great. Janet, tell everybody who your ideal clients are and how they can connect with you.
Well, my ideal clients are those who are looking for either collaborations with other brands or folks who are looking to either license out their property or who would like to get licenses for their products.
All right, good. All right, good. And they can reach you, your website.
They can reach me on LinkedIn. Just send me a note under Janet Dwoskin.
Okay, perfect. Good. Think Community, if Janet can help you and you had any questions on licensing, what that means to your company, if this sparks some interest in you, reach out to Janet Dwoskin on LinkedIn and at minimum have a conversation and see the opportunities that could be within the walls of your company that you're just not maybe seeing. Janet, I appreciate you. Thanks so much. Think Community, if I can do anything for you, you can reach me at johndwoskin.com. Janet, thanks. This was great. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.